Welcome to Universally Judged with Siera Birchall. On the Universally Judged podcast, we share the stories that you haven't heard from pageant title holders, models, content creators, and actors. In each interview, our guests share a behind-the-scenes look at their life and the lessons they've learned along their journey. This podcast is created in collaboration with Dive Through, a mental wellness company that helps people dive through what they're going through.
Welcome back to the Universally Judged podcast. Today we talk to Anna Victoria, who is the CEO and founder of the Fit Body app. Anna helps thousands of women around the world not just transform their bodies, but transform the way they feel about themselves, the mental health surrounding food and fitness. She tells us a little bit about how she went from selling her $9 ebook, she sold that to hundreds of thousands of people, to now building a 7-figure business. What? This woman is an absolute powerhouse. She is a new mom to a 14-week-old baby, Aurora. She's fabulous. She's amazing. You're gonna love what she has to say. Enjoy this episode with Anna Victoria. Welcome to the Universally Judged podcast. It is so exciting to have you on. I've actually been, I feel like, part of your journey for a long time because of all people, my mom introduced me to you.
No way.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So yeah, she listened to your she listens to your podcast. She's like, you have to listen. She's so sweet, so genuine. And you also recently became a mom.
Yes.
So I feel like I connect to you even more. Yeah. I have a daughter as well. She's 21 months, and your daughter, remind me of her age.
Yes, she is 14 weeks.
Yeah. And it's Aurora, right?
Aurora. Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty.
Brand new.
That is so oh my gosh, 14 weeks. That is so, does it still feel surreal?
Oh, so surreal. Like I look at her and I'm like, wait, like I have to verbally say that is my baby to believe it. And even then it still feels weird, but it's amazing. Of course.
You are the mother of a daughter. I just think that's so crazy. I know. I still feel like it's almost been 2 years for me and it still is surreal sometimes. I think mostly when you kind of step away, like say doing a podcast or doing something unrelated, when you're in the moment of mom life, it's, you're in it, but that's so, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you have helped women around the world not necessarily just transform their bodies, but transform the way they view themselves. You went through a journey yourself of, you never thought you were the fitness type. You never thought you would find yourself in this space. Can you give us, I know a bit about your journey, but give us kind of that little pitch of how you found yourself in the fitness world, helping people transform their bodies and their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I was not that person that was into fitness growing up. Like I played sports, but as soon as I had to get a job at 16, I stopped playing sports and kind of didn't do anything physical until I was in my early to mid-20s and I started having health problems. And I now know, at the time I didn't know, but my health problems were completely a result of me eating fast food 3 times a day, loving it, having no problem with it. But personally, but physically, my body was just like, something's not right here. So up to that point, I just was not interested in fitness. To be honest, I thought that the fitness industry was all about vanity and that all they cared about was what they looked like. I didn't understand or know that there is a mental and emotional component and a health component. Or to be honest, the amount that I knew there was, it just kind of wasn't worth it to me for quote unquote, all that effort. It just seemed like such an overwhelming and impossible task to, start taking care of myself. So it was November 2012. We had moved to China, my boyfriend at the time. Yeah, now my husband. And that's when he was like, okay, Anna, you're no longer working full-time and going to school full-time. You have the quote unquote time to take care of yourself. And I didn't want to admit it, but he was right. And he's from Rome, Italy, born and raised. And their food culture is very different from American food culture. And he was like, I think eating all the goldfish crackers and McDonald's is why you're having health problems. And so pretty much, I sucked it up begrudgingly. I hated it. I hated my first months of working out, but I needed to do it as a preventative measure before those health problems became chronic. So I started working out, and I remember after a few months, I started not really seeing as much progress because it takes a lot longer than what diet culture would like to lead you to believe. But I remember thinking like, wow, like I'm actually feeling so much better. I'm feeling so much more energized and I'm sleeping better. Maybe there's something to this. So that's kind of where it all got started.
That's so cool. And yeah, exactly. Maybe this actually impacts how I'm living my day-to-day life, what we put in and what we do. You said that your boyfriend at the time, now husband, he made some comments about like what you were eating or whatever. Did you ever have a moment that you felt like he was shaming you into it? Or do you feel like he was like, I want the best for you? Like, how did you feel in those moments?
Yeah, no, this is a great question because it's a very touchy thing to say to a woman, you know. But no, he was so graceful about it and respectful about it. And it was 100% from a health point of view. And even that can be controversial to say to someone sometimes, you know, but I will say I was complaining about these health problems. So it wasn't that he was just like, you know, bringing it up out of nowhere, but he definitely like always made sure to, how do I say this politely? Appreciate my body, you know, out in the open a lot. So it was never about, he loved my body back then. And all the way through my journey and now postpartum, it's a whole nother,
it's a whole other journey.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no. So I definitely never felt shamed, and I'm very lucky for that.
Well, that's great. That's good to hear. Because I think so often there is so much shame around food and fitness. And I think part of it is that we still see an image and believe that that's tied to health. Sometimes people can look a certain way and be the ultimate epitome of health in terms of what they're doing physically, what they're eating, but they may not have what we've been taught by society is a healthy image. And how do you handle that, being in the position that you're in, kind of, I guess, striking the balance between what it looks like to be healthy and what it feels like to be healthy?
Yeah, this is such a great and important topic. And it's something that I realized early on in my journey that, you know, or actually what really happened is, so I created an Instagram account when I was living in China because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have anyone to talk to. Instagram wasn't a thing back then. And I was anonymous for a year on this page that I made. And because it was one of the first, you know, random fitness pages, I organically grew and had like 250,000 followers in 2013, which early years was
that's
like
huge. Oh yeah.
Which is not my current Anna Victoria page. That was actually a separate one. But anyways, so after I shared my quote unquote transformation, I say that because physically there wasn't that big of a difference. Scale wise, there wasn't that big of a difference. I definitely had more of like a body recomp kind of transformation. But when I shared that, so many people were like, oh, but you looked so great before. Because I wasn't obese. You know, I was what they would call back then, which is now no longer a term people appreciate, skinny fat. And, you know, people kept saying like, oh, but you looked great back then. Why did you put all this effort in? And that's when I realized like, but wait a minute, guys, who cares what I looked like? I felt like crap. I had horrible digestive and GI issues that, you know, if I didn't do something about, were going to be lifelong issues that I don't want to. I'm 23 years old. I shouldn't be in this position, you know, of experiencing these health problems. And so that's when I kind of realized that I want to change my messaging. It's not about what I look like. You know, sure, I'm a human being. No human being doesn't want to look good, you know, and of course, like, there's always things that you could say like, oh, I want this to look better. But that was never important enough for me for that to be my driving force, nor my message. I wanted it to be about, you know, I do this because you want to feel good. And I feel like in my time on Instagram, I've seen that kind of go from one extreme to the other and back again. And I've realized that, you know, it's so important to focus on your mental and emotional health and your physical health, which is different from your aesthetics, right?
Absolutely.
But, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I feel so passionately about this personally, but I've realized that not everyone does. There's a lot of women out there that are like, okay, cool, I just want to look good in a bikini. And I kind of was on one side of the extreme for a bit, that it was like, don't care about the bikini. You're going to look good no matter what. Women are going to block you out to an extent when you tell them that, because they're just like, okay, sure, but I still just want to look good in a bikini. And I've had to kind of realize that there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good in a bikini. As long as through the journey, you realize that it's about so much more than that it's about prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being and your health, and having that be what keeps you on the journey versus the aesthetics. So
I 100% agree with that. And I resonate with that so much. I don't know how much you know about me and my journey, but I competed at Miss Universe Canada twice to try to earn the right to represent Canada. And I first competed in 2013, and I was told that I had to be as skinny as possible. So I lost about 15 pounds, and I was already what I considered healthy, fit, and I basically had to starve myself to get there. And so mentally and physically, I actually wasn't healthy. I ended up, placing high, but I decided I wanted to go back, do it my way. So in 2016, I went for it, and I was the healthiest physically and mentally I'd ever been up to that point for myself. But I was about 15 pounds more than when I competed in 2013. And so many people on the internet, people that I knew, they were like, but you were healthy before, like you looked better before. And it's like, no, it's about so much more than that. And I felt like I had to repeat myself over and over again, kind of like you're saying, to share with people that health and wellness is just not only how you look. Like, yes, we all want to look good in a bikini, but it doesn't stop there. And so I think we are so tied to an image of health. And I think it's going to take so much like stripping away the layers to have people see that. So I love that you have that, because I think women still, for sure, it's like, but I want to look in a bikini, but this, but that. And I think that what people don't realize is once they're on that journey of reaching their best physically and mentally, then the other things kind of come, like their body changes, right? So it's when I feel like the lasting, and you've probably found this with your clients, the lasting results happen more so when they're in it for different reasons other than just wanting to look good in the bikini. Do you find that?
1,000,000%, because physical results take a long time. And of course, like once we get to a goal, then we're like, okay, a little bit more. And the physical side of things kind of become like a never ending cyclical thing. And it's just not a sustainable place to be mentally and emotionally. But if you instead, I don't want to say like completely disregard those physical reasons, because they are great motivators. But as long as you are focusing on the mental and emotional just as much, if not a little bit more, that would be great. Then that is what will allow you to sustain this journey for the long run, because then you're not, looking in the mirror and criticizing yourself, which is it's really bad for your mental and emotional well-being. So yeah, I feel like there's just been so long that I've just been really like fighting this fight of like, don't care about what you look like where you're at your healthiest is going to be beautiful. And I wholeheartedly believe that, but it's hard to get a society to also believe that when we've been told for so long, like you said, the idea of health is a skinny, thin, woman, when, a lot of times there's so many times I have seen a female fitness professional that I followed for so long, and I've thought like, wow, like she looks really, really amazing. And then a year later, she comes out and saying like, I had an eating disorder, or, I lost my period. I was losing my hair. I had all these health problems. And it's just like, what? But then they have millions or thousands of people saying how good they look and kind of reinforcing for that one individual to look that way. And then it's just a cyclical effect with how that, reflects on her followers. Anyways, yeah, it's a problem.
It is a problem. It's a big problem. And like you said, people are influenced, right, by imagery. People are influenced by Instagram. That's why it's called social media. And that's why people are called influencers, because we can influence what people think, not only about the world, but about themselves. Seeing an image of somebody else can impact how we feel about ourselves. But something I wanted to touch on what you were just saying, when people are on a journey, they start to see physical changes and they're like, okay, great, I'm looking how I want. And then maybe something happens in their life. Maybe, some sort of traumatic event, they either gain weight or they lose some of the muscle, and they kind of backtrack to what they've achieved, do you feel like more often people just kind of give up and they're like, okay, wasn't worth it, I reached it? Or do you find that people now, they're starting to be able to, I don't want to say get back on the train, because I don't like thinking of it as like getting on and off of this journey, because I really believe it is a roller coaster, and we have seasons of life, we have seasons of our bodies. How have you found that from your perspective with your clients and with the people who use your app and everything? Are people getting better at being able to be like, you know what, I'm back on my journey of health? Or do people kind of throw it out the window?
I think it depends on the person, because I've seen both. And I feel like my girls are a little bit unique because we have a community that's like an online support where like if they feel like they're about to fall off track or you know, I hate that term too. I catch myself using it so much, but you know, yeah, if they've, you know,
something has happened.
Yeah, things happen in life. You know, they can reach out to like the other girls, you know, with their FBG Instagram accounts or the Facebook group. But then there are other girls that just completely go MIA. And I see it and I'm always just like, oh, like as much as I'm there for support, I never want to be like Big Brother, you know? So like I've never will like reach out to someone to be like, hey, how's it going? Because I want to respect that they might need that space and that time to come to terms with whatever's going on in their life. And I truly do think too, as much as I'm a personal trainer and a fitness professional and such an advocate for taking care of yourself, there's some times in your life where it just has to be put on the back burner. Like you said, if there's a traumatic life event, if there's finals, I have girls saying like, what do I do? It's finals week. And I'm like, you need to study.
Absolutely. You know, like, absolutely.
So, you know, but yeah, with that being said, I wish I could say that I think that we're at a point where the majority are, kinder to themselves and more graceful and allowing themselves to kind of go through the seasons. But I do still see women being pretty tough on themselves, unfortunately.
Something I see a lot as well is women apologizing for their bodies. I follow girls who, you know, there'll be like a little bit of skin over top of their yoga pants and like, oh, sorry, excuse that roll. And then as well, something I see is people, I guess, justifying how they ate. Like, for example, oh, I got to get on my SoulCycle bike every single day because of all the pizza and pasta I ate this weekend. How do you overcome those feelings of feeling like you have to justify what you ate? You might feel like you have to work out more because of something you did. Kind of that feeling of like apologizing and needing to make up for something that you've done, whether it's eaten, not worked out enough. Like, why do we have that feeling of having to apologize to others? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you've seen this so much.
Completely. And I mean, I'll just say, like, not related to fitness, women apologize too much for their existence, period. You know, like there's so many times I've caught myself and I'm just like, I need to rephrase that. And I've even told some of my team members like, hey, please stop apologizing. Like anyways, that's another tangent. But yeah, you know, I have to say, I feel a little bad saying this sometimes, and I almost don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but sometimes I feel like maybe I'm the right person to talk about this, but maybe I'm not, because I didn't grow up with many body image issues. I don't know why. I've tried to like go in the depths of my brain and, you know, reflect on my childhood and figure out why. But, you know, I've never connected food to morality or my body to my value. I remember when I was like 16, I was out at lunch with a friend, and she had a plate of food that she didn't finish. She didn't want to keep eating because of weight gain reasons. So she took, you know, when you put your straw in water and you kind of lock your finger on it to lock water in it. She did that and then released the water on the food to prevent her from eating it. And I remember, like, I wasn't a naive 16-year-old by any means, but I just remember thinking, like, why would you do that? Like, what in the world? And that was kind of my first experience with someone that kind of had some body image, food, kind of, you know, a situation. So now that I am, you know, this is what I do. And I want to say, I think that's why I can do what I do, because I'm not affected mentally and emotionally in terms of when I am in a time period where I'm super focused on my fitness and my nutrition. I don't go down that rabbit hole of that being tied to value. so, and I say that sometimes, like maybe I'm not the right person to talk about it because women do need to hear from women who have that experience. But at the same time, women need to hear that it's okay to not assign value to food, that exists, that not everyone has to feel that way. And so
yeah, I think you're a great person to talk about that because I think so many people, like a majority, I would say, place certain values on food, like emotional value. So I think you're a great person because I think you are a rare person. And I even hear older generations who will be like, oh, can you imagine how many calories are in that? And it's like, it's not just like a new age thing like this.
No, my grandma has said some things that I was just like, whoa, like, are you serious? And actually that brings me to another thought that I think is really important to talk about is why do women have these insecurities? Where did this start from? And oh my goodness, sorry, my dog just knocked over some books. So, and I really, really don't want this to come across as mom shaming in any way. It's not, but it is a cultural thing. Normally, girls see their mothers criticizing their bodies. They see their mother or they hear their mothers talking about someone else's body. And I don't want to say that's usually where it starts because of course there's another diet culture component that no matter a mother, talking about her body or not can impact young kids. But I do think it's really important that we set that example, that we don't talk about our bodies in front of our daughters. We don't talk about their bodies, in a negative way. I just hear so many women that say, oh yeah, my eating disorder or my body image issue started when I was 6 and my uncle poked my belly.
Right.
And,
or saying, like, oh, you're a big girl.
Yes. Or like, and it doesn't even have to do with weight. Someone like, I'll say,
not big, but like, oh, you're a big girl now. Like, having that, and like, wait, I don't want to be big because big is bad. Like that kind of thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's such a touchy thing. And I do think it's an interesting topic because, people are like, oh wait, okay. So now can I not tell a little girl that she's pretty? Like
I know.
It's such a tough topic, but it's something that I think that we just need to approach with a little bit more care and consciousness. So
I absolutely agree. And I think it starts at home. It really does. I really believe it does with our language. Like you said, the way we talk about ourselves, the way we talk about others. And something that I noticed, you might eventually notice this with your daughter as well. When my daughter was about a year, she was like walking, running around. I sometimes dress her pretty neutrally. So people think she's a boy. She doesn't have much hair. Okay. So, so when she was wearing like a dress or something that was, I want to say more obviously that she was a girl, it was obvious that she was a girl. People would be like, oh, you're so pretty. I love your dress. And then when people thought she was a boy, maybe wearing a sweatsuit, you're so fast. You're so strong. Look at you go. So at a year old, my daughter was being told that as a girl, how she looks is more valuable than what she can do. So her looks value more as a woman than her abilities when people thought she was a boy. And I had these moments that I was like, oh, it literally starts as an infant. And it's so crazy.
I actually saw, it was like a Facebook post or something where someone said, I'm going to go put these over in the girls' clothing area. And it was a little boy graphic tee that said like had NASA on it. Okay. And they were saying like, I went over to the girls section. I can't find anything about something that could be connecting to a profession, or intellect. Or it was all just, rainbows and princess and cutesy things. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, because since my daughter's only 14 weeks old, I haven't, been confronted with this yet. But like that realization, similarly to what you've actually experienced, is just mind blowing. And it really shows you how early on these, the gender bias can get started and kind of putting, men and women in, their own categories and how that affects the rest of our lives, right?
Absolutely, it does. It starts so soon, and you'll see it for sure. Like even little things like my daughter loves Buzz Lightyear, so she was dressed as Buzz Lightyear for Halloween 2 years in a row because she loves Buzz. And people would say to me, "Why are you dressing her like a male character?" And I said, "She's actually an astronaut." women can be astronauts, okay? And there's just this sense that women have to be like princesses and frilly, which she loves Barbies, she loves Frozen, she loves Cinderella, but she also loves the Lion King and has Lion King pajamas that I bought from the boys section, because in the girls section it was all pink and purple. Like, it's very interesting, and I do believe it starts so young. So let's kind of skip forward here. You have had this journey. You necessarily weren't tied to emotional feelings around food, but you did want to feel better physically. You started this journey, and then you wanted to help others kind of get the results of feeling so good. Where did that start for you?
Yeah. So, when I started my fitness journey, like I mentioned, I hated it, and I can't say that enough. I despised it. And once I kind of got over that hump of hating it so much, I mean, I will say, even today, I don't love working out every day. Like, I have to really push myself. I call it robot mode, where I just, as soon as I think about it, I just get up and go, because I will make all the excuses in the world to not do it. But once I did start really feeling better and seeing some results, and when I shared that transformation picture, as much as there were many people saying you looked fine before, there were others that were like, how did you do this? Like, this is amazing. And back then, this is early days Instagram, there was no DM. So people use an app called Kik, K-I-K. And you would put your Kik username in your bio. And that's how followers and people communicated back then. And so I would get kicked a bunch, and people would say, like, how did you do this? And I remember just feeling like I need to help people, because I know how hard it is, and I know how much I hated it, but I know how worth it is. And so I would write out like all of my top tips. And I remember I would max out the character count. So I had to send like 5 of them. And I realized that people kept coming back more and more and more, and kind of starting to communicate with me as though I was some sort of trainer. And I knew I didn't have the credentials, and I was very clear about that at that point. And, but I realized like, hey, this could really help people. Honestly, I have student loans to pay. Like, I'm going to create an ebook that's like $9. Like, it's not going to be very much. It was called 4 Weeks to Fit. And I put all of my advice in there and what I had experienced, and a meal plan and a workout program. And it did so good, like hundreds of thousands of copies.
That's insane.
Yeah. And people came back to me saying, Anna, I'm so happy I got this for $9, but you are selling yourself short, because this is the best advice that I have gotten from any doctor or anyone else, because my message was balance. It was like, stop going to an extreme. Like, sure, you can see crazy results on 1,200 calories a day, but you're going to hate life.
And it's not sustainable.
And it's not, exactly. And it's not sustainable. So I'm going to give you something that is realistic, that will help you see results. But, and then as you're consistent, you turn it into a lifestyle, and you're no longer going to be in that yo-yo, mentality. So that is when I was like, okay, I need to get certified. I need to get legit. And I got certified, and I turned those 4-week guides into my 12-week fit body guide. So that's where FBG comes from. And so then that's kind of where, as far as like becoming an actual personal trainer, started. And I did that. The guides were out for 2.5 years. And then that's when girls were like, Anna, I love the guides, the PDFs, but I want this in an app. As technology advanced, we built the Fit Body app, and we are going on 3 years this December. So
that is so cool. One of the things I thought about, have people compared you to Kayla, who's like the BBG girl? Okay.
Yeah. Not like in early days, non-stop. And we started around the same time. We actually were in contact kind of in those early days. And honestly, I think it's a compliment, because she's
amazing.
What she's built is really amazing. And, there's something to be discussed about the term bikini body.
I know. I feel you on that.
There's that side of it. But aside from that, it was interesting in the beginning. It was a constant comparison. And I'm going to be honest, there was even a bit of like some cattiness from girls that were, being, I don't know, because people tend to do that. They compare people and they want to pick a favorite. And that was, not fun in the beginning, but I think it's long past that now. And Kayla herself has even reached out to me during my pregnancy and postpartum, and she's been so sweet. So
that's nice. That's awesome. And yeah, she's a mother now as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think that it's actually kind of sad that people do constantly compare no matter what. So we always face so much judgment, whether it's other people comparing us to other people or judgment like with ourselves. Have you ever felt like people are judging you, especially now? Like, oh, when's her fit body going to be back postpartum? Do you feel like people are like watching your every move?
Yeah, sure. But like, have fun, like I'm not here to like appease other people with my body. Like I'm going to share my journey as it is and just live my life like as I want to. And how I've always looked at it is there is going to be someone who relates to me as I am. I don't feel the need to put myself in a box for someone else because, that's just, it's not what I'm interested in. I don't want to say I'm not here for other people. I'm here to help other people, but like, I don't see myself, my physical being as like what I'm serving people. I'm serving them knowledge and information and hopefully helping them on their own journey. So
that's really powerful. I love that. And I think so often, especially other women, we're always looking we want to see other people succeed, but very sadly, women want to see other women maybe not necessarily fail, but not reach what we believe is like the epitome, like the body bounce back at like 8 weeks. And I remember myself, even if I was out in public, people would be like, wow, you really bounced back. You can't tell that you were ever pregnant. And I thought, well, I got a belly under here. Like, do you want to see it? Right. And like things like that, you don't see it. And not that we're trying to conceal it or anything, but I think that for so long, we didn't realize that it is a journey. You took 9 months to grow a human. Your body stretched, it changed. You're not going to walk out of the hospital or your home birth and look like you did before. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that is normal.
Right. 100%. I did an Insta story the other day before my workout of like, I'm in my workout clothes, high waisted, very compressed, pants. And then I was like, you know what, this is such an inaccurate representation of where my body is at right now. So I rolled the pants down and I was like, all right, this is what's really going on. And so many women were like, thank you, even though you probably know, especially if you had a baby, what's under there, but I don't feel okay with just putting up that perfect picture and leaving it at that. I think it is a part of my responsibility as an influencer to kind of remove the veil of that Instagram perfect life, which no one has, as much as they want you to believe that, and say like, this is where I'm really at because I'm not ashamed. And this is where I think that, like I said, sometimes I battle with like, am I the right person to be talking to women about appreciating their body? This is where I think I do think that because I don't have issues, I have no problem with showing my body where it's at, because what you think or what you say is not going to affect my own opinion of myself. And that's what women need, is they need someone to say, hey, this is the reality of it, to instill that confidence in themselves and to know that it's okay to be okay with where you're at.
Absolutely. And it's a journey. Like we've said, it is so much of a journey that you don't just like something changes one day and it changes like how we look, how we feel. It is such, maybe you've had some ups and downs of like, maybe you aren't physically able to do some of the things you did pre-pregnancy, but that will come, right? And it's a journey. It doesn't just happen overnight for anybody, no matter what people say. There is no like magic trick, any of that. What advice do you have for women who maybe aren't necessarily going through pregnancy, or maybe pregnancy, when they're having those moments of, oh my gosh, I have so far to go. Like I'm not where I was before. What advice do you have for those women who are needing like
So I'm currently going through this.
Yes.
I'm so newly postpartum, and my first workouts, I was really kind of, I don't want to say it was just a reality check, but it was just like, it was a hit to the face of like, wow, I am so weak. I had a C-section, so my core, is still healing. And I was really discouraged those first workouts. And I just had to keep telling myself, like, you're not going to be here forever. And you have to just keep putting one foot in front of the other to get to where I want to be. And honestly, I kind of try to not think about it too much. I think that if we get in our heads too much, that's when it can just, become a, you can just kind of tear yourself down. And so I think that just putting one foot in front of the other, not looking too far ahead of the future. I think trying not to look at how far you have to go. And then I would say pre-pregnancy, this is what I always said, and I still do stand by this, is realizing that the time is going to pass anyways. So you might as well do something good with that time and focus on taking care of yourself, because in the blink of an eye, it's going to be 6 months from now. And if you still didn't start taking care of yourself and you're still going to be feeling, whether it's, health problems or energy or mental health or any of those things, you're going to be in the same spot. And I think that we underestimate how do I say? I haven't thought, this just came to me. So let's get the words right. We underestimate how quickly time flies. And we overestimate, let's just leave it at that. We underestimate how, I'm going to need to think on this one, because there's something there. There's a gem in the works.
Yes, I love that. It's a diamond in the rough.
Yes, exactly. This is normally how my Instagram captions start. I'm like, wait, I know I have an idea somewhere and I need to rewrite over and over and over to get to where I want. Hard to do on the spot. But yeah, I think that we do underestimate, how quickly time flies, and it seems like something so impossible, but really, it's here before you know it. So yeah.
It's so true. And I think as well, like you said, the little bits every single day add up to so much. Like even if it's like 8 minutes of stretching or meditation, or even like there's been times I've gone out for a walk / run, jog, whatever, and I'm out for like 8-10 minutes and I'm like, at least I was doing something. I felt that much better. And it isn't necessarily about the hoping for physical results, but it's giving your body that attention it deserves, because our bodies are the only thing we live in every single day, and we need to take care of them to some extent. Because I think, when you kind of neglect that, like, maybe tomorrow, I'll start on Monday, that time passes anyways. And like, if we don't make the time for ourselves now, when will we ever make the time? And it's definitely harder in motherhood. I totally know and running a business. I mean, I can't imagine how busy you are. And I think people also don't understand, you work for yourself. So you didn't have a year of maternity leave. Like, even probably like the day your daughter was born, you were probably maybe posting stories or something. Like, it never stops, right?
Yes. I gave myself 2 days in terms of like social media stuff. And as far as work, I took about 2 weeks. But I mean, there still was some little conversations here and there that my team, needed me for. And yeah, it was tough. When you work for yourself, you don't really get maternity leave. So.
No. And there's definitely pros and cons. But what advice then do you have for women who they're in a space like, maybe not necessarily like you, but they work for themselves, they're finding it hard to take care of themselves? Like, how do you make that time, or how does it work for you? How does it look for you, maybe pre-baby and now?
So pre-baby, what I always would say was get up first thing in the morning and get your workout in, because when you're really, really busy and you have a lot to do during the day, you're going to be so exhausted by the end that it's just going to be pushed on to the next day. And so goes the cycle. And when you get up and you get your workout done in the morning, you get so much more energy that actually allows you to handle everything that you have to do throughout the day. So that is what I would say pre-baby. I would say that current baby, post baby, some days that works, other days it doesn't. It depends on how much sleep she got, and how much sleep I got. And so in these days, what I focus on is just doing 10 minutes of something. Even if I'm still focusing on reestablishing my mind muscle connection with my transverse abdominis, my inner core muscles, due to having a C-section. So if it's only just doing that diaphragmatic breathing and a little bit of light core work, that's good. That's enough. And really that's where women should start postpartum anyways. So yeah, just, taking 10 minutes when you can and just moving your body in the slightest way, and not setting the expectation that you're going to get to work out 3-4 days a week. As much as that doesn't sound like very much, I'm speaking at least to like the very newborn stages. It's impossible to have a schedule, And so just instead of saying I'm going to do this X days a week, just commit to moving your body when you can, like 10 minutes a day, even if it's not a quote unquote actual traditional exercise.
That's great. That's very, very helpful, I think, for some people, because people really do think, okay, I need to go to the gym for like an hour. And honestly, it's just impossible. And we shouldn't set those expectations for ourselves and even for others. I think that, someone like yourself, who so many people look up to for your transformations of yourself and all of that, people are like probably waiting. Even right now, they're probably waiting on the sidelines like, okay, when's she going to show up? And it's just actually kind of sad that we have those expectations for each other rather than like celebrating where we are in the moment on our own journeys. It's it's a crazy world out there.
Yeah. And I have to admit and say that I have started thinking a bit about it as I have now resumed to working out and posting my workout videos and things like that and what I'm doing postpartum. I have started realizing like, oh, people are waiting to see what my body looks like or how quick I quote unquote bounce back. And I've had to stop myself from thinking about it because again, you can kind of go down that rabbit hole. So that's kind of my method of defense is just, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing. And yeah.
Well, that's great. I was listening to a couple of your podcasts and I really loved, I forget who the guest was, but you guys were talking about like social media and the platform and what it can do for business and whatnot. And you've essentially grown your whole business on social media. So what do you how can people utilize social media for their businesses, whether it be fitness related, influencing, maybe it's even someone who has a restaurant? How do you best describe the use of social media for the growth of a business?
Yeah, I think that the number one thing is you have to be consistent. And the number two thing, probably in a tie with number one, is you have to provide value. So you have to give people a reason to follow you. You have to realize that it's not about you, it's about them. You have to think about what is in it for them to follow me and to continue following me and to engage with me. So definitely consistency and value. And when I say consistency, that doesn't necessarily need to mean every single day posting, but whatever you decide your cadence is, that needs to be consistent. So if it's 2 times a week, on this and this day, that needs to be consistent because your community, your followers are going to get used to a certain amount of, content from you. And when you deviate from that, what's going to happen is they're going to go find someone else who will give it to them consistently. So I would say those are the main things. I have to say it's something that I've actually struggled with in I don't want to say just my pregnancy and postpartum time, but I did IVF. We were trying to conceive for 2 years and went through an infertility journey. And in that time frame, I kind of checked out a bit from social media just because in my personal life, things were getting, a little intense and emotionally draining. And so I kind of deviated. I used to post 3 times every single day. And yeah, which is a lot of content.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so now I'm reaching for 1 time a day. It's good if I can get 1 a day. I'm trying to stay consistent with that. So still taking my own advice.
That's great. And looking back, do you have any regrets with social media, whether it's posting too much, posting too little? Is there anything you wish you would have done sooner, use a certain platform sooner, anything like that?
Definitely. I think that I put all my eggs in one basket. Like I'm very Instagram heavy, Instagram focused. I have a YouTube channel and it has I think 50K followers, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I know that if I nurtured that more, it does grow naturally without me even doing anything. So if I just put in a little bit of effort, then I know it would grow. But honestly, with my business, that's kind of when, aside from even my IVF journey, when my content kind of took a little bit of a backseat because now I am creating a product and a service for my community. And that to me is number one. That's my number one responsibility is to those who are paying, for something that I'm providing. I need to be sure that it is the absolute best thing that, I can provide for them. So as much as I regret it, at the same time, I'm okay with prioritizing my business and my community.
That's really important. And I think that's something that we don't understand is you're putting value to where people are paying for your value. And as much as on something like YouTube, you'd be giving people value, but it isn't the same thing. You can't be taking something away from your business that you already have And so that, I think that makes great sense. And sometimes people don't know how much work it is to film, whether it's for Instagram, whether it's YouTube, the editing, all of that behind the scenes is so much work. Did you ever feel shocked at how much work all this takes?
Oh my gosh, yes, all the time. And I still do all the time. And I think it's because now my hours are even more precious with my daughter. When I lived in Italy, like that's kind of where things really started to expand for my brand. I mean, I was doing my MBA and like, so I was in school, but otherwise I was just kind of chilling at home on my couch on the weekends. Like back then I could spend hours and hours and hours and it didn't faze me. But these days it's like, oh my goodness, where in the world do I get all the time for this? So I'm learning how to be more efficient with my content these days. But yeah, I have to say I have so much respect for YouTubers because it is so much work.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I have a YouTube in like the pageant scene, so it's totally different than like the lifestyle of my Instagram. But yeah, I never knew how much work it was. And in the early days, I felt like I could like bounce my daughter and like edit. Now, toddler life, no, it's just
great. That's what I have to look forward to. Great.
No, and it's honestly, I don't want to say there's pros and cons because that sounds horrible, but every stage something gets easier and something gets harder. I mean, you've probably already experienced that, right? From the very newborn to where you are now. There's always like, oh, wow, this is so much easier. And oh, shit, what the hell is this?
100%. We are constantly going through a cycle of like, one day we'll be like, okay, we're getting the hang of this. And then the next day it's like, wait a minute, it's totally different. And it just so goes the cycle.
Everything is out the window. Give us a quick timeline of where you've lived, because you used to live in LA. You now live in Austin. You lived in Italy, China. Give us a timeline.
So I'm originally from Northern California, small town. Never thought I would travel in my life. But I moved to San Diego for college, and I studied abroad in Rome, Italy, going into my senior year. That is where I met my husband, but it was through mutual friends from San Diego. So he wasn't just like a random guy on the street. And coincidentally, he was moving to San Diego 6 months later anyways. So yeah, did long distance for 6 months. And then I graduated from USD for my bachelor's, and we moved to China together for a year. I studied Mandarin there. He did his master's at the same time. Then we had to move back to Italy because that's where his family business is. And then I did my MBA in Italy. And then when I was done, I focused on learning Italian for about a year. And then that's really when the business was like going from like, okay, Instagram early days, no one knew where it would go and how long it would survive kind of thing. And it was 2016 that we were like, okay, shit's getting real. Like this is a legitimate business. Like we are going into like 7 figures, like we need to build a team. And we wanted to build the app. So we moved to LA, November 2016, lived there for almost 4 years. And we realized that we were going to be expanding our family. We wanted to buy a house. We have a dog. We want to give him a backyard.
Yeah, so cute.
So we literally, like, our main intention with buying a house was to give our dog a backyard. Like, no joke.
100%. That would be us as well. We're in an apartment right now, and it's great, but absolutely the number one motivation of a house would be to give Ted a backyard. And it's rigatoni, right? Is that
rigatoni? Yeah.
Rigatoni roaming in the backyard. Anyways.
Yeah. So so then we moved to Austin, Texas, May 2020, just a few months ago, when I was 30 weeks pregnant and mid-pandemic.
Perfect.
So been quite a ride. And as you can see, we're movers. We don't mind moving here and there. So we don't know if we see this as our forever home, but it's home for now, and that's good enough for us. So
that's so cool. And you mentioned briefly there, 7 figures for your business. How crazy is that to think that? What?
No, my husband is the CFO of the company, so he handles that whole side of it. I truly try not to even focus on it because that's not my motivation. Like, and I don't want it to be, like I always want it to be my community and providing value. But yeah, I mean, it's still pretty crazy. And I just feel really lucky to be able to have such an amazing team that cares as much as I do about the business and my community.
That is, I think that right there, okay, yeah, there's a dollar amount here that can be so amazing and like, wow. But ultimately, the fact that you keep saying that you come back to the value you're providing, your community, I really think that that is one of the core things that makes a business or a person successful, is that they always come back to why they started or why they're here, who they're serving. Because when we're only focused on the dollar amounts or, oh, do you know how much this person makes? I feel like those people aren't always as successful because this motivator isn't as sustainable long term.
Right. And yeah, they're not happy, like when they're constantly chasing a material item or a dollar number. And I'll admit, we could be making more in some ways, and it's just not worth it to me to a certain point, or to compromise my morals or my integrity to target, women's insecurities. Since I am in the fitness industry, it's very easy to do, very easy to make a lot of money on, and I'm just not interested in it. So
good for you. That's amazing. Congratulations on everything, on Aurora and your success in business. It's all just so incredible. I always like to ask if you have any advice for your younger self. I know that it was a little bit different for you because I feel like you have always been quite confident in who you are, but do you have any advice for your younger self?
Gosh, it's so funny because I have a podcast, and
yes,
it's actually, we're done recording on it. Actually, we're taking a bit of a hiatus. New mom life. I had to, to figure out, prioritize a bit. And as much as I love doing it, podcasting takes a lot of time. But I asked people a similar question, and I've never thought about my own answer. Let's see. I would just say to just trust my gut and to listen to myself and to my heart, and not let outside, factors kind of get in my head. Because as much as I've said, that generally was my viewpoint, there absolutely were times where I kind of succumbed to societal pressures or comparing myself. And you almost have to go through that sometimes to get on the other side and realize, like, wow, that was such a waste of my time, energy, emotions, and everything. So, that's what I would tell myself.
That's beautiful. That's really important too. I think so often we get caught up in all the noise around us, trying to look like other people, be like other people, hear what other people are telling us to do and be, and all of that, and really just tuning into yourself and what you want and what you've exactly. Stay true to yourself. Well, thank you so much. I know you're so busy, so get back to the mom life and business life and everything else. It was such a pleasure, and I can't wait to keep following you on your journey. And
thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This is amazing.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day, and give Rigatoni a pet for us.
Thanks for listening to Universally Judged. Be sure to subscribe to our show and leave us a review. If you want more great content, find us on Instagram at Universally Judged. See you next week.